The mysterious ban. The news hit Earth like a thunderclap. The Galactic Council, the highest authority in the galaxy, had issued a decree. Humanity was banned from the upcoming galactic war. The order came without warning, leaving Earth's leaders in a state of shock. It was unheard of. Humans had fought in galactic conflicts before, but this was different. The question echoed in the minds of many. Why? Why was humanity suddenly excluded? Captain Alara stood at the front of the military command room, her eyes fixed on the screen displaying the Galactic Council's announcement. Her heart raced. This couldn't be happening. A ban on Earth. They had never been sidelined before. Humanity was respected across the galaxy for their courage, their persistence, and their ability to survive against impossible odds. Yet now, they were being treated like outcasts. "Commander Alara, you need to read this," said Lieutenant Cade, his voice shaking. He handed her a datapad. The message from the Galactic Council was clear. Due to unforeseen events, humanity is hereby banned from participating in the war. Any human presence in the conflict will be met with severe consequences. No explanations, no details, just a cold, firm decree. Alara clenched her fists. She could feel her anger rising. This wasn't just a political move. It was personal. The Council had always been wary of humans, but this felt different. There was something more to this ban, something the Council was not telling them. "We need answers," Alara said, turning to her team. "Prepare a response. We will not stand by and let them silence us." The military officers around her nodded. They had always fought for humanity's place among the stars. But this was an insult. They had earned their reputation as fierce warriors, respected by many. And now, they were being treated like criminals. No one had warned them. No one had told them why they were banned. Alara sat down at the main console, her mind racing. She had to understand why this was happening. Something had triggered the ban, but what? Back on Earth, the government was just as confused. The president called an emergency meeting, gathering the top officials from every sector to discuss the ban. Alara was summoned to the meeting, and her mind was already working on what it could mean. The room was full of nervous chatter as Alara entered. Everyone was speaking in hushed voices, unsure of what to make of the Galactic Council's message. There were whispers of betrayal, of secrets hidden within the Council's ranks, but nothing concrete. "Captain Alara," the president said, his voice cold. "You've seen the announcement. What do you make of it?" Alara stood tall, her face hardening. "This is not a simple decision. The Galactic Council doesn't act without reason. They may not tell us why, but we need to find out." The president nodded gravely. "Agreed. We cannot let this pass without an explanation. But we must be cautious. There are rumors that the Council is growing increasingly concerned about humanity's influence. We've been making allies and enemies across the galaxy, and not everyone is happy about it." Alara's mind went back to the last few months. Humanity had been gaining ground in the galactic community. They had formed powerful alliances with several species, and their military had become a force to be reckoned with. Could this be the reason for the ban? Had Earth's rise to power made the Council nervous? A voice from the back of the room interrupted her thoughts. "What if the Council is afraid of us?" It was General Harris, one of Earth's top military leaders. "What if they fear what we might become? We've been growing too powerful. Maybe they want to put us in our place before we get too big for our boots." Alara looked around the room, her mind working through the possibilities. Could it be true? Had humanity's progress sparked fear in the Council? The thought was unsettling. If the Council truly feared humanity, they would do whatever it took to keep Earth from rising further. "We cannot ignore this," Alara said, her voice steady. "We need to find out exactly why this is happening. If the Council fears us, we have to prove them wrong. We are not a threat. But if they are hiding something from us, we must uncover the truth." The meeting continued late into the night, with no answers in sight. Everyone was still in the dark, and the atmosphere in the room was tense. Alara couldn't shake the feeling that something larger was at play, something that went beyond politics. As the meeting ended, Alara stood by the window, looking out at the stars. The universe felt both vast and small at the same time. Earth had always been a distant, isolated planet. But now, humanity was at the heart of a galactic drama that would change everything. But the question still remained. Why? Why was humanity banned from the war? And more importantly, what was the Galactic Council hiding? The answers were out there, and Alara would stop at nothing to uncover them. This opening part is designed to grab the audience's attention with suspense and a mysterious hook, keeping the story interesting while using simple and clear English for accessibility. Secrets of the Council. Captain Alara stood in the command center, gazing at the holographic display in front of her. The stars beyond Earth's atmosphere shimmered like distant jewels, but her focus was far from the beauty of space. The Council's mysterious ban on humanity weighed heavily on her mind. Every lead they pursued only raised more questions, no matter how much data they gathered. The reason behind the ban remained a secret. Alara's fingers danced across the console, pulling up data from all corners of the galaxy. She could feel the tension in the room as her crew worked tirelessly, searching for any information that could shed light on the Council's decision. But everything was locked down. No communication, no official statements, just a firm, silent wall. "Captain, we found something." Lieutenant Cade's voice cut through the silence. His voice was a mix of excitement and caution. Alara turned toward him, her heart racing. Any hint of an answer would be a breakthrough. Cade handed her a small data pad, his eyes not leaving the screen. "This is an encrypted transmission from the Galactic Council," he said. "It's old, but it's the only thing we've found that's even remotely connected to the van." Alara's fingers quickly scanned the message. It was a brief transmission, just a few sentences, but its implications were staggering. The message wasn't meant for public eyes. In fact, it seemed like a hidden communication, something that had been deliberately buried. The transmission read, "Humanity's rise is a threat to the Council's power. They are becoming more than we can control. Action must be taken before they influence more of the galaxy." Alara's blood ran cold. The Council had known. They had seen humanity's potential long before the ban. And now, it seemed like they were afraid of what humans could become. "They're not just worried about us participating in the war," Alara muttered under her breath. "They're worried about our influence, our power." Cade nodded grimly. "It seems like they view humanity as a rising force, a threat to their established order. If we continue to grow, the Council's control over the galaxy could slip away." Alara clenched her fists. This was bigger than a simple war. The ban wasn't about the conflict. It was about power, and the Council was trying to suppress humanity before they became too influential. "We need to let the President know," Alara said firmly. "This is bigger than we thought. We need to act fast." Meanwhile, back on Earth, the President was meeting with a group of the most powerful leaders. They were discussing humanity's future in the galaxy, but the news from Alara's team had left them on edge. The idea that the Galactic Council feared humanity was unsettling. If the Council had the power to exclude humans from such a major conflict, what else could they do to suppress them? The President stood at the front of the room, his face tense. "We cannot allow this to stand. If the Council truly fears us, then we need to show them that we are not their enemy. But we cannot act recklessly. We need to be strategic." General Harris spoke up, his voice filled with determination. "We've faced tougher challenges before. If the Council is trying to control us, we fight back. We've got the technology, the will, and the courage to prove we won't be held down." Alara's transmission echoed in the President's mind. Action must be taken before they influence more of the galaxy. The President turned to his advisors. "If we're going to take on the Galactic Council, we need to know their weaknesses. We need to find out everything we can about them, what they fear, and what they're hiding." Back in the command center, Alara knew that the next steps would be critical. The Council was powerful, but they were not invincible. The information they had uncovered was only the beginning. There were more secrets hidden in the shadows, secrets that, if revealed, could change everything. Alara's thoughts drifted to the future. How far would the Council go to maintain control? If they saw humanity as a threat, they wouldn't just stop with the ban. There would be more actions, more moves to keep humans from rising too high. And if the Council underestimated humanity's determination, they would be making a grave mistake. "Captain, we've got another lead," Cade interrupted her thoughts. "It's an encrypted message from an old ally in the Outer Rim. They claim to have information about the Council's plans." "Put it through," Alara said, her eyes narrowing. "This might be the break we need." As the transmission began to play, a familiar face appeared on the screen. It was Commander Vren, an ally of Earth who had once fought alongside humanity in a past conflict. His voice was serious, almost warning. "Captain Alara, I don't know how much longer I can keep this information safe, but I'll tell you this. The Council is planning something big. They're not just trying to keep humanity out of the war. They're setting the stage for something far more dangerous, something that could endanger all of us." Alara leaned forward. "What are they planning?" Vren hesitated for a moment, then spoke in a low, urgent tone. "They're trying to contain the human influence by any means necessary, and I'm afraid they'll do anything to stop you." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Alara staring at the blank screen. What had Vren meant by contain the human influence? And why had he warned her so urgently? Alara knew one thing for certain. The Galactic Council had something they didn't want humanity to discover, and it was up to her and Earth's leaders to find out what it was, before it was too late. This second part continues building suspense and mystery, keeping the audience engaged while maintaining a simple and accessible style for maximum reach. It opens up new possibilities for the story and gives the audience clues about what's to come. The Council's true fear. The tension aboard the Earth fleet was palpable. The crew worked tirelessly, trying to piece together the fragmented information they had gathered. Captain Alara sat in her private quarters, staring at the glowing screen before her. The transmission from Commander Vren still echoed in her mind. The Council is planning something big, something that could endanger all of us. What did the Council truly fear? Alara had a feeling that the answer lay deep within the Council's secrets, but every piece of information she found only led to more questions. Humanity had become a thorn in the Council's side. But why? Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft beep from her console. Cade's face appeared on the screen, his expression serious. "Captain, we've decoded more of the transmission from Vren's ally. It seems like the Council is preparing something, but it's not clear yet what they intend to do. However, there's a mention of a project, something they've been working on for years. We think it's related to a weapon." "A weapon?" Alara repeated, her interest piqued. "What kind of weapon?" "We don't have full details yet, but there's a connection to Earth's influence in the galaxy. This weapon might be designed to prevent humanity from gaining too much power. We're still digging, but I think it's safe to say this could be the key to their fear." Alara's mind raced. The Council was not just trying to keep humanity out of the war. They were trying to neutralize humanity's growing influence. If they were willing to go as far as creating a weapon to control humans, then humanity was more dangerous than even they realized. "Keep me updated, Cade," Alara said, her voice steady, but her mind racing. This changes everything. As she sat back in her chair, her thoughts turned to the President. He had to know about this weapon. If the Council was trying to suppress humanity's rise in the galaxy, it was only a matter of time before they would strike. Humanity needed to be prepared for whatever was coming. On Earth, President Durant convened an emergency meeting with his top advisors. Alara's transmission had rattled them all. The information they were uncovering about the Galactic Council's fear of humanity was unlike anything they had expected. They had always known the Council held a certain distrust of humanity. But this was something different. "Mr. President, General Harris began. The fact that they're building a weapon specifically to counter humanity's rise means one thing. We are a serious threat to their power. This is not just about a war anymore. They are afraid of us. I agree, President Durrant said, his voice heavy with the weight of the situation. But what are they afraid of? What makes humanity such a threat to their control? General Harris looked at the president, his gaze steady. It's not just about our military strength, sir. Humanity has the potential to change the balance of power in the galaxy. We are resourceful, determined, and capable of adaptation in ways the Council hasn't anticipated. If we unite our forces, we could reshape the future of this galaxy. The president nodded thoughtfully. That's exactly why they've banned us from participating in the war. They want to keep us isolated, weak. But we're not going to let that happen. We need to strike first, before they can unleash whatever weapon they've been preparing. Back aboard the fleet, Alara stood at the helm, staring out at the stars once again. She knew the stakes had just gotten higher. The Council was afraid of humanity. They were afraid of the power that humanity could wield if left unchecked. And now, it was time to turn that fear against them. We can't wait for them to make the first move, Alara said, her voice resolute. We need to act now. We need to find that weapon, whatever it is, and stop it before it can be used against us. Cade nodded. We're already gathering more intel, Captain. We'll track down every lead. We won't let them control us. As the Earth fleet set course for the unknown regions where the Council's weapon was rumored to be hidden, Alara knew they were walking into the heart of danger. The Council's actions spoke volumes. They feared humanity's potential and were willing to do whatever it took to suppress it. But what the Council didn't realize was that they were making a grave mistake. Humanity had always been underestimated. The Council had underestimated the strength of humanity's will, the power of their unity, and the incredible adaptability that had made them who they were. No matter what the Council had planned, they were about to learn that the humans they had tried to suppress were not the weak, fragile species they believed them to be. They were far stronger than anyone could have imagined. The stakes were now higher than ever, and Alara was ready to face whatever the Council threw at them. Humanity would not be kept in the shadows any longer. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. The weapon of fear. The days that followed were filled with quiet tension. The Earth fleet moved through the galaxy, charting the course to the coordinates they had uncovered. Alara stood on the bridge, staring out at the vast expanse of space. It was strange how quiet it was. Normally, the hum of the fleet's engines would offer a certain rhythm, but now, there was only the silence of anticipation. "We're close, Captain." Cade's voice broke through her thoughts. He stood by the console, his eyes glued to the screen. "The signal we've been tracking, it's coming from that system." Alara stepped forward, her gaze hardening as she looked at the map displayed before her. "Is that where the weapon is?" "It matches the data from the decoded transmission," Cade replied. "The weapon's location is within that system. We can't be sure what we're dealing with until we're on the ground, but if the Council's been hiding it there, it's important." "Then we go in," Alara said, her voice firm. "Prepare the fleet. We need to be ready for anything." As the fleet neared the system, a sense of unease settled over the crew. Every officer, every soldier knew what was at stake. They were about to confront the weapon the Galactic Council had been developing, an answer to humanity's growing influence in the galaxy. But none of them were sure exactly what kind of weapon it was. "All units, stay sharp," Alara called to the fleet. "We don't know what we'll encounter on the surface, but we must neutralize whatever the Council is hiding. This mission is critical." The fleet arrived at the planet, a desolate world surrounded by a barren moon. Alara and her team boarded shuttles, preparing to land on the surface. The planet was eerily silent, its surface pockmarked with craters and long-forgotten scars. The silence was oppressive, almost suffocating. As their shuttle descended, the weight of the moment pressed heavily on Alara's chest. She glanced at her team, Cade, General Harris, and a few select soldiers. They were ready, but the unknown still loomed over them. What had the Council been hiding? What kind of weapon was humanity about to face? As the shuttle landed with a soft thud, Alara took a deep breath. Move out, stay close, and watch for anything unusual. The team disembarked, the cold wind whipping around them. The terrain was harsh, the atmosphere thin. It wasn't a place meant for life, but the structure ahead of them seemed far too intentional. Massive walls of blackened metal towered above them, as if guarding something secret. There was a sense of foreboding that radiated from the place. This doesn't look like a normal military installation, General Harris murmured as they approached the entrance. This is something else entirely. Alara nodded, her gaze fixed on the massive doors. They were shut tight, sealed with an alien technology she couldn't yet understand. But there was a way in. There was always a way in. Cade stepped forward with a small device in hand. I can get us inside. Just give me a minute. The device hummed to life, casting a faint blue light over the metal doors. It worked quickly, bypassing the security systems. Moments later, the doors slid open with a loud screech, revealing the darkness beyond. Alara's pulse quickened. Whatever lay ahead would change everything for humanity. The team moved inside cautiously. The interior was cold and sterile, its walls lined with strange, glowing symbols that Alara couldn't read. The faint hum of machinery echoed through the vast, empty halls. It felt like they were walking through the ruins of a long-forgotten empire. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the ground beneath their feet. The air grew heavier, as if something immense was awakening deep within the planet. A voice crackled through their communicators. Captain Alara, came the voice of President Durant. We're receiving strange readings from your location. Be careful, we're not sure what you've stumbled onto. Alara didn't respond immediately, her eyes scanning the dark corridor ahead. There was something off about the way the ground trembled. It wasn't natural. Something had been activated. Everyone, get ready, she ordered. We're about to find out what the Council's been hiding. They reached the center of the installation, a massive chamber bathed in eerie green light. In the middle of the room stood an enormous device, pulsating with energy. It resembled a massive cannon, but the intricate design and the unfamiliar technology made it seem far more complex. There were tubes and wires snaking out of the device, leading to unknown places within the structure. What is this? Cade whispered, his voice filled with awe and fear. Is this the weapon? It must be. Alara replied, her voice steady despite the fear rising within her. It's something far more dangerous than we anticipated. The device hummed louder, its energy pulsing like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Alara stepped forward, her instincts telling her that they had stumbled onto something far more deadly than they could have imagined. And then, from the shadows, came a voice. The voice of the Council. You shouldn't have come here, human. The words were cold and foreboding. The Council had known they were coming. This wasn't just about a weapon. It was a trap. The trap is set. The voice echoed through the chamber, cold and calculated, sending a chill down Alara's spine. You shouldn't have come here, human. For a moment, everything stopped. The pulsing energy from the device grew louder, vibrating through the air, filling the room with a sense of imminent danger. Alara's hand instinctively gripped the weapon at her side. She wasn't sure what was coming, but she knew this wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. Who's there? Cade asked, his voice sharp, his eyes scanning the shadows. The silence stretched, oppressive and thick. Then the ground trembled again, stronger this time. Alara felt it in her bones, a deep, resonant shake that seemed to reverberate from the very heart of the planet. She knew they weren't alone anymore. Something, or someone, was moving, getting closer. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward, tall and cloaked in shadows. It was difficult to make out the details, but the silhouette was unmistakably alien. The figure was draped in a flowing cloak, its movements smooth and deliberate. As it drew closer, Alara could make out the faint outline of its face, sharp features, glowing eyes, and a sneer that made her blood run cold. "Captain Alara," the figure said, its voice smooth, almost mocking. "I've been expecting you." Alara's heart raced, but she kept her composure. "Who are you?" she demanded, stepping forward, her team ready to act. The alien's eyes glowed brighter as it smiled. "I am the one who ensures the Council's will is carried out. And you, human, have made a grave mistake." Cade's hand hovered near his weapon, but Alara raised a hand to stop him. She couldn't let fear control her. She had to stay calm. "What is this place?" Alara asked, her voice steady, though her mind was racing. "What is this weapon?" The figure chuckled, the sound echoing in the chamber. "This is not just a weapon, Captain. This is the key to humanity's downfall. You were never meant to discover it." The word struck Alara like a slap. Her team looked at each other, confusion and fear flickering in their eyes. But Alara pushed those feelings aside. They couldn't afford to be uncertain now. "Then why didn't you destroy it?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Why leave it here for us to find?" The alien's smile widened, but there was no warmth in it. "The Council thought it was safe. They thought you would never venture this far, never challenge their authority. But now that you've found it, you've sealed your fate." Alara narrowed her eyes. "You're bluffing." The alien stepped closer, its gaze never leaving hers. "Am I?" "You see, this device is not a weapon in the conventional sense. It is a force beyond your comprehension. You will be the ones to unleash it, and you will regret it." Alara took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing thoughts. She had to stay focused. The Council had tried to hide their weapon, but now they had made a grave mistake. It was clear they were in over their heads, and the alien knew it. She wasn't going to let fear dictate her actions. "We'll see about that," Alara said, her voice calm, but there was fire in her eyes. "Get ready, team. We're taking control of this situation." The alien smirked, its eyes glowing brighter, but didn't respond. Instead, it reached out a hand toward the device in the center of the room. The energy in the room seemed to intensify, the very air vibrating with power. Something was happening. Then, without warning, the ground beneath their feet shook violently. The device at the center of the room roared to life, its hum filling the air with a deafening noise. Alara's team stumbled, trying to maintain their balance as the very structure around them seemed to pulse with energy. Cade shouted, "It's activating. We need to stop it now." But it was too late. The alien's laughter echoed through the chamber as the device's power surged, crackling with raw energy. The lights flickered and dimmed, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Alara's heart raced. They had been too late. The Council's weapon was coming to life, and with it, the galaxy's fate was about to change forever. "Captain," Cade shouted, panic creeping into his voice, "we need to stop this now." But Alara was already moving, her mind working quickly. They couldn't let the alien or the device take control. She turned to her team, her voice firm. "Get to the control panels. Disable the device. We can't let it activate." But as she reached the console, the alien stepped forward, raising a hand. The air crackled with power, and suddenly, a wave of energy shot out, knocking Alara and her team to the ground. The force was overwhelming, and they struggled to regain their footing. "Enough," the alien growled, its eyes burning with an intensity that sent a shiver down Alara's spine. "This is the end." Alara's mind raced. She couldn't let this be the end. Humanity's future was hanging in the balance. She had to find a way to stop this before it was too late. The countdown. Alara's vision blurred as she struggled to regain her footing. The impact of the alien's power had sent shockwaves through her body, leaving her breathless and disoriented. But there was no time to dwell on the pain. The countdown had begun. A mechanical whirring filled the air, sharp and relentless. The chamber's lights flickered again, casting strange, distorted shadows across the walls. The device, still pulsating with energy, seemed to grow stronger by the second. It was alive, and its power was rising faster than anyone could have anticipated. "We need to get to the control room, now," Cade yelled, his voice a desperate plea. He pulled himself up, his hand gripping the railing beside him for support. Alara's head was spinning, but she pushed through the dizziness, forcing herself to stand. Her team had already started moving, cautiously making their way to the control room in the far corner of the chamber. The air felt thick with tension, as if the very walls were closing in on them. But the alien didn't move. It simply stood there, its eyes glowing bright, watching them with an unnerving calmness. "You're wasting your time," the alien said, its voice eerily calm. "The device is already in motion. You can't stop it now." Alara clenched her fists. The alien's words rang with truth, but she wasn't going to give up. "We'll see about that," she muttered under her breath. As the team reached the control panel, Cade immediately began working, trying to access the device's systems. His fingers flew over the controls, but the screen remained stubbornly black, unresponsive to his commands. Come on," Cade muttered, his frustration clear. Meanwhile, Alara scanned the room, her eyes darting from the alien to the device and back again. The power surging through the room felt suffocating, like it was choking the very life out of them. It was a race against time, and they had no idea how much longer they had. "Do you know what this device really is?" the alien asked suddenly, its voice breaking through the tension. "It's not just a weapon. It's a key that unlocks the potential of the universe itself. The Council thought they could control it, but they failed. Now it's in your hands, and you'll be the ones to bring about its true purpose." The alien's words made Alara pause for a moment. A key, unlocking the universe's potential. What kind of weapon were they dealing with? What had the Council really created? Cade looked up from the console, his face pale. "I can't stop it. The system is locked down. The device is on a preset course." Alara's heart pounded in her chest. They were running out of time. The countdown continued, the numbers ticking down with terrifying speed. Each second felt like an eternity, each passing moment bringing them closer to disaster. Cade's voice was strained as he looked back at Alara. "There's no way to reverse it. We need to destroy it. Now." Alara's mind raced. Destroying it? How could they? The device was unlike anything they had ever encountered. She didn't even know if it could be destroyed. But there was no other choice. If they didn't act now, they were all going to die. "We're running out of options," Alara said, her voice cold with resolve. "We'll have to try everything. Get to the backup power sources. If we can overload the system, maybe we can stop it." Her team nodded grimly and split off, moving in different directions, each one determined to find a way to stop the impending doom. But even as they rushed, the alien remained still, watching them with an unsettling calmness. "You can't escape fate," the alien called out, its voice almost pitying. "The Council's plans were always meant to fail. Humanity is the perfect vessel for this power. You'll understand soon enough." Alara's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that," she replied, as her team continued their frantic search. Cade had reached the backup power panel, his hands shaking as he worked to bypass the system's safeguards. But the alien's words hung in the air, growing louder with each passing second. What was this device really capable of? And why had the Council been so eager to keep it hidden? It was clear now that there was more at stake than anyone had realized. The fate of the galaxy, and possibly more, was in their hands. But the longer they waited, the closer the countdown drew to zero. Alara's pulse quickened. She had to keep her focus, stay calm, and trust that they could find a way to stop this. The stakes had never been higher. The future of humanity, and the entire galaxy, was hanging by a thread. As the countdown ticked down, Alara felt the weight of their situation pressing in on her. If they couldn't stop the device, everything would change forever. And then the countdown reached its final moments. The suspense intensifies as Alara and her team race against time to prevent disaster, while the aliens' cryptic words linger in their minds. The threat is growing, and every second that passes brings them closer to the device's activation. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the tension is palpable as the team scrambles to find a way to stop the inevitable. The final choice. The countdown blared in their ears, a constant, unforgiving reminder that time was running out. Alara's team had split into two groups, desperately trying to figure out how to stop the device, but nothing seemed to work. Every control they tried to manipulate had locked itself down further, and the alien stood there, unmoving, its presence as unyielding as the device itself. 3 minutes, Cade said, his voice a mix of fear and frustration. Sweat trickled down his face as he worked furiously at the backup controls. I'm telling you, it's locked tight. There's no way we can shut it down without triggering. We don't have time for options, Alara snapped, her voice cutting through the panic. She could feel the weight of the situation closing in on her. The pressure of knowing that if they didn't act, the universe as they knew it could change forever. The alien's cold, calculating eyes locked onto Alara. You don't understand. This is not something you can control. You can't stop what is already set in motion. Alara's heart pounded in her chest as she glanced around. The alien had been right about one thing. They were dealing with something far beyond their comprehension. The device in front of them pulsed with dark energy, its glow brightening with each passing second, and no matter how hard they tried, the system wouldn't yield. We have to try, Alara said, a quiet determination settling over her. There has to be a way. We can't just let it happen. Cade's voice trembled. Even if we destroy it, the damage will be done. The device, it's not just a weapon. It's a key to something much greater. If it activates, it could release forces we can't even imagine. We'll take that risk, Alara replied without hesitation. We have no choice. The alien's voice broke through their thoughts again. You misunderstand. The Council banned you from the war because you weren't ready, because you couldn't comprehend the power you were about to wield. Now you will learn the truth, whether you like it or not. Alara's pulse raced as she turned back to Cade, her mind working at full speed. Cade, can you reroute the power to the core? We need to overload the system. It's the only chance we have. Cade's eyes widened with the realization. It's a gamble. If it doesn't work, everything will explode. But it's the only shot we've got. He quickly moved back to the control panel, pulling up the intricate schematics of the device's systems. His fingers flew over the interface, each click of a button more desperate than the last. Alara stood by, her eyes darting between Cade and the alien. She knew that they were running out of time. But even more than that, she knew that if they failed, humanity's future, and possibly the entire galaxies, would be forever altered. The stakes had never been higher. 1 minute, Cade announced grimly. I'm rerouting the power. If this doesn't work. It has to work, Alara said, trying to keep her voice steady. But the uncertainty was gnawing at her. She could see the energy readings spiking, the device's hum growing louder. Its power feeding into something dark. You can't stop this, the alien said, almost in a whisper, but there was no mistaking the malice behind it. Humanity's reckoning is coming. The Council made a mistake in thinking you could be controlled. You will be their downfall, whether you realize it or not. The alien's words felt like a weight on her chest, but Alara didn't let them break her resolve. We will decide our own fate, she said firmly, and we're not going to let you dictate it. 30 seconds, Cade said urgently, his fingers almost a blur as he worked to complete the rerouting sequence. Alara stepped forward, eyes locked on the alien. You've underestimated us. Humanity may not have the same power as the Council, but we have something they never did, the will to fight. The alien didn't respond, but its glowing eyes narrowed. The tension in the room was suffocating, Every second that ticked by felt like an eternity, the countdown reaching its final moments. The device hummed louder, its power almost unbearable now. 10 seconds, Cade said, the strain in his voice clear. I need more time. But there was no time left. Alara made a quick decision. Do it now. Cade slammed the final button, and in an instant, the entire room seemed to shudder. The device's energy surged violently, a brilliant flash of light filling the room. Alara barely had time to react as the light engulfed her. Everything went silent. When the light finally dimmed and the sound of the countdown stopped, Alara's heart stopped for a brief moment. She blinked, trying to adjust her vision. The alien was gone. The device was gone. Did we do it? Cade asked, his voice hoarse. His hands were shaking, but there was a look of awe in his eyes. Alara glanced around the room. The silence was deafening. No more hum. No more countdown. Just the eerie stillness that hung in the air. I think we did, Alara replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien's presence was gone, but the weight of what had just happened still hung heavy in the air. They had won. For now. But Alara knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the true power of humanity, and there was no going back.